Welcome back to this Football Manager 2018 experiment where I've given the top 6 teams in England a 50-year transfer embargo. Now this is part 3, so if you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, please go and check them out first so you know what has happened so far. Just to recap though, you may remember we saw Tottenham Hotspur completely flop. They got relegated all the way out of the Football League, declining very, very suddenly. And a lot of you did spot that they basically sold all their keepers in part 1. All their best keepers, and that was a real problem in the Premier League. They got relegated from there, despite still having Harry Kane and Dele Alli, remember. It was quite ridiculous that they still had Dele Alli in League 1. So they're going to be playing in non-league during this Part 3. We also saw Arsenal get relegated but promoted again, and Manchester City have gone down to the Championship in the latest season. So let's see what's happened in the 2029-2030 season. So we'll start with the Vanarama National League, because I'm sure a lot of you are curious to see how Tottenham got on. And as you can see, they failed to get promoted. They did make the playoffs, but Scunthorpe United, the worst team in the playoffs, actually managed to win it. It was very tight. They only finished 7 points off top of the table, Boston United, but they just weren't good enough. They've now got Matthew Wells in charge of the club. Let's just have a look at their manager history. You can see they've just had so many managers. He was actually caretaker manager for a while, but actually managed to get the top job after Chris Morgan was sacked. This is the squad. I've put the current ability and potential ability in here thanks to the in-game editor, so you can have a look to see the quality of the team. They've got 3 players with 100 or more current ability, and this is the quality of them. They're not great. They've come through the Tottenham Youth Academy. They're not really they're probably going to be League 2 quality players at some point. Ashley Rodgers is another one, 20 years old. They're relying on a lot of young players. Jake Jones, an American who came through. Obviously all their players have come through the youth system because they can't make any transfers, remember. It really is intriguing. Is there hope for the future? They've got one player with 156 potential. He could potentially be good enough to play in the Premier League. I'm surprised he's not really been pushed into the first team already, to be honest. I guess he's only 16. He might have only just come through the most recent youth intake day. But can they hang on to him? Probably not. He's going to be sold on. And a lot of these clubs, particularly Spurs, are going to become selling clubs because they still have good facilities, good youth academies, etc. They've still got a 76,000-seater stadium, but I think they will probably at some point get a new stadium, which is smaller. They will have to. They're not going to be able to survive with that. If we just look at their average attendances and that sort of thing, let's see, their first home game of the season, they managed to get 24,000 people. That's not bad for non-league football, but it's a 76,000-seater stadium, so it's not great. Last home game of the season, 24,000. That was 3-1 win against Hereford, but yeah, it's not great, is it? Let's look at this FA Trophy. 19,000 turned up for that. They did get to the FA Cup third round, but they went out to Notts County. Yeah, it's not looking good for Spurs, is it? Let's just go up the leagues then. We've not got any other teams at this level yet, but I think at some point we will see the other 5 teams drop down. Maybe not this far. A lot of you are saying Man United will stay in the top division the whole time, either because they're a little bit overpowered on the game, or they've got the best youth academy or youth system, possibly, arguably, I don't know. I thought Spurs would do quite well to start with because they've got a good young team, but selling their best keepers did not help, even when they hung on to Harry Kane and Dele Alli. This is the Championship then. So, Man City finished down in 13th place, 59 points. They've flopped. Who'd have thought that? I thought Man City would do quite well. They might recover. You never know. They do have very good youth system because of all the money they've spent on it over the years, but they've gone down to 3.5-star national reputation. They've still got John Stones as captain. Luke de Jong is the manager. John Stones now 36 years old, 130 caps for his country, but still playing for Man City. Gabriel Jesus is still their key player at the age of 33, 95 caps for Brazil, as you can see there. I think their facilities are still excellent. They've got a lot of money. Let's just have a quick look at Man City, for example, using the in-game editor. Their finances, look at that. They've got tons of money, £807 million. They do have a giant transfer budget, but they can't spend it. They physically can't spend it. So they've got, how much is that? 43 million to spend. And I think at the end of this 50-year embargo, we will holiday that far, by the way, we will see some clubs with 200 plus million pounds to spend. because of all the TV money coming in and saving up all this money over the years, they're going to have tons of money to spend at some point. This is the Man City team then, if we just sort by current ability. They've got some good players at Championship level, but they failed to get promoted. This player though, look, James Hogg has 194 potential. He has the possibility of becoming the best player in the world, certainly the best English player around, and he's come through their academy. But the key question, can they hang on to him? We shall find out in due course, I suppose. But yeah, poor from them, finishing down in 13th. So the Premier League then, what happened? West Ham champions for the third season in a row. Are they going to dominate England? Or are we going to see Everton, Watford, Leicester, Newcastle, Southampton? Will they make a resurgence? Will they go towards the top of the table and start winning league titles? Because West Ham have won it 4 times now. Everton and Watford have won it once each. But look, key highlight here. Chelsea, bottom of the table, relegated to the Championship for the first time on this save, with Mike Garrity in charge and Andreas Christensen as their captain. Courtois still at the club at the age of 38. He's got 189 caps for Belgium. That's insane. But yeah, they've been relegated out of the Premier League. Liverpool only 5 points above the drop zone as well. Arsenal 8 points above the drop zone. Man United finishing all the way down in 9th. And that's pretty interesting as well. Let's just go up. Let's look at Liverpool next. So James McArthur in charge of Liverpool. 4-star reputation. Trent Alexander-Arnold still club captain at the age of 31. He's an England legend as well. Arsenal, they've got Formica as their manager. There's not much point looking at transfers now, by the way, because most of the players coming out are regens who we won't know about. But we will keep an eye on sort of these star regions that these teams produce. Will they be sold? They will. There's no question about it that these players will be sold if they've got a world-class ability. Man United they've not got Mourinho in charge anymore. When did he leave? He left. In fact, he's only just left. He was sacked because they finished 9th in the table after all those years of him sustaining them at the top level. He's failed this season with the team that he has. He's still got, this guy's a world-class player. We've seen him before. Joe Daniels, 46 caps for England, came through the academy and has turned into a phenomenal player, world-class player, as you can see there. But him alone isn't going to drag them to the top of the table, because he's predominantly, I think, a left-back or defensive midfielder, so he's not going to be scoring tons of goals. Marcus Rashford at the age of 32, still banging in the goals for Manchester United. Their top player, potential-wise, they've got a lot of potential there, although some of these players are quite old now, as you can see. If we just look at the under-18s, they've got a bit of potential there. Under-23s, Paul Pogba's now dropped down to the under-23s at the age of 37, as you can see. That Anthony Martial still here. Lukaku at the age of 37. They've pushed all these players into the reserves. Quite interesting that they've decided to do that. Well, let's holiday another season then and see what's going on at the end of the 2031 season. Before we look at the 2031 season then, please can you check out the link in the description below. It goes to a survey that I've created. I'd like to gather some thoughts on the channel and also decide my plans for 2018. So you can help me with that by answering those questions. They're all optional, but it'd be great if you can answer as many as you can. I've already advertised this on the channel, on Twitter, and the School One Still One series, but I just want to get thoughts from different viewers. So some of you guys will only watch my experiments, so it'd be interesting to know your thoughts on the channel as well. Anyway, thank you if you do that. That'd be much appreciated. Let's have a look to start with at Tottenham Hotspur, who I think have failed to get promoted again. They've got Kelvin Langmead in charge now, and still 2-star regional reputation. Let's have a look at the league table then. Down in 8th. They've dropped off down to 65 points. 0 goal difference, as you can see there. Lincoln City promoted quite easily as champions, with Braintree going up via the playoffs. It's not looking good for them, is it? It really isn't looking good for them. Have they sold that player that had potential as well? Is he anywhere to be seen? I think they've sold him. I've forgotten his name. Let's just have a look. It's this guy. They sold him for £115,000 and he's got potential to be a Premier League quality player, but I suppose as a 16, 17-year-old, you're not going to get much money for him, and they didn't have much choice. If he wants to leave, if he wants to go to a Championship club like Wolverhampton Wanderers, didn't have a very good time in his first season, but he's still very young, of course. But yeah, they didn't even get much money for him. There are a lot of transfers that we've seen that are way below what players are worth, but I think clubs just don't have much choice now selling these sorts of players. Anyway, League 2, that's what happened in League 2. We've not got any teams in League 1 yet either. But let's just have a look at the table for those interested. And then I just noticed Kettering got up to League 1 and then were relegated, and Barnet. Championship, this is what happened. Man City have been promoted via the playoffs, finishing third in the table. Wolves and Aston Villa promoted automatically. But Chelsea replacing Man City in that 13th place. What's happened to them? They've got Brendan Rodgers in charge of the club now. He's been in charge for 234 days but hasn't had a very good time. Courtois is captain. He's still here at the age of 39. I suppose he's a goalkeeper that can just play on forever. But at this rate, he's going to have a stadium named after him, isn't he? Ridiculous, really. Let's just look at the best players at the club. It's this chap, Matias Toure, who obviously came through their academy. How long will they be able to hang on to him? He's an English international, 58 caps, valued at a hell of a lot of money, earning a hell of a lot of money in the Championship. But will he stay at Chelsea for another season in the Championship, or will he have enough and decide to leave? Billy Gilmore, they obviously signed him in real life, but he's 30 years old, 96 caps for Scotland, Scottish legend. Likewise, will he stay with Chelsea in the Championship for another season? Don't know. They've obviously got players with potential. There's an 18-year-old with 159 potential, as you can see there. 149 potential for Kenville Miller from Barbados, 15-year-old. But yes, once again, can they stay at the club? Will they stay at the club? Man City. We need to look at Man City. So they finished third and managed to go up via the playoffs with Martin Naylor in charge of the club. He's only been in charge for 146 days, in fact. So they did sack their last manager in the new year, and the new guys come in and done pretty well. What sort of attendances are they getting at Championship level? 55,000. It's about what they get really in the Premier League, isn't it? 54,000. Yeah, 54 to 55,000 people. This chap, James Hogg, is still at the club, and perhaps they'll be able to hang on to him now they've gone back up to the Premier League. We shall see. He came off the bench a lot this season, as you can see there. Their best player, Guillaume Dumas, French international, I presume. No, he's not an international, but he's a decent player and should do a good job for them in the Premier League. Will they be able to stay up next year? We'll have to find out by holiday in another year. Premier League then, wow. Manchester United, they've won the league. What has happened? Their youth academy has managed to win the English Premier League. I think some of you are right about them staying up the whole time. They're not going to go down, are they? With the players they're producing. Radi Jaidi, a Tunisian, has led Manchester United back to the top of the table. Mourinho failed them last year, but this chap has won the league with Lindelof as captain at the age of 36. Their vice captain and key player is Joe Daniels, the English international, who is an incredible player. They're going to hang on to him, aren't they? They've got Champions League football next year. They're only a 4-star reputation team now, by the way. They're not worldwide. That's quite interesting to see. But they are doing the business in the Premier League with the likes of Joe Daniels leading them to glory and James Kelly. They didn't even... I mean, these performances from the three best players at the club, they're not even very good average ratings. But top goal scorer Marcus Rashford, 20 goals again. James Heath, 19 goals. This guy's got an incredibly long name and managed to score 18 goals. And that is phenomenal for Man United. They only lost 4 games all season against Reading, Hull, Sheffield Wednesday and Crystal Palace. Brighton, Middlesbrough, Derby relegated, by the way. Arsenal very close to relegation. They survived by 3 goals. With Liverpool also having a very good season, finishing up in 4th. West Ham, champions 3 years in a row, dropping down to 6th place. What's happened to them? By the way, they've got a worldwide reputation. They've moved above Manchester United. That is pretty incredible. English Premier League has moved back to 2nd after dropping to 3rd for a little while. Absolutely fascinating, this. I'm loving this experiment. It is incredible. Let's just look at England. West Ham are the top team in England. Then Everton, Watford, Man United, Crystal Palace and Stoke. So the top 6, that's the top 6 now of England. So Manchester United still in that top 6, despite the fact we're in the year 2031 now. That is really impressive of them to be able to go to that level. This is the best player in England playing for Liverpool. So he obviously had a good season, helping them to 4th place. Reece Oxford, 85 caps for England at the age of 32. Still at West Ham, as you can see there. These are the clubs involved. There is a much bigger variety of clubs involved in the English national team now, but I just find it amazing that Man United have just consistently done well on this, despite the fact we've really messed with them. How long will they be able to sustain themselves as an English top 6 team? We shall find out, as always, on Golden FM's experiment. Let's go down then. Look at Liverpool, who finished 4th with James McArthur in charge. Still a 4-star reputation team. Their best player, this guy's got... This is interesting. I mean, England arguably a little bit overpowered on the game anyway. But because of all the changes we've made, these teams cannot make transfers. They've had to focus on their youth academies. And particularly the teams that have stayed in the top flight, like Man United and Liverpool, they are producing world-class talented players as a result. We do see the odd English world-class player come through, but not this number. We've got Mick Jeffers, who had 193 potential ability. Doesn't look like he's going to get there. He might do. He's got a good chance. Whereas Brian Barton, he's obviously not going to get there because he's 28 already. But they were producing these players that had the potential to go on and win the Ballon d'Or. We'll have to see who's actually won that in a bit, perhaps at the end of this video. Rafael, another player with amazing potential, though he is Spanish. Paul McIntosh as well. So Liverpool in particular producing amazing players here. Paul McIntosh is their best one. 38 appearances this season, good average rating. Wow. Well done to Liverpool for managing to finish back in the top 4. Who's next? It is Arsenal. Of course, we've got Chelsea and where's Man City? Oh, we already looked at Man City. I'm getting confused. Man City have just come up, haven't they? Arsenal finished 17th. They're just about clinging on, aren't they? Remember, they were relegated in the last part, promoted back to the Championship, and they've been close to relegation 2 seasons in a row, haven't they? Paul Heckingbottom in charge of the club. Is he still in charge? Did we see him in charge previously? No, he's only just come in, really. 3.5-star national reputation. I guess they're finishing where they're predicted to finish, because they've just come up, really. Season previous, have a look at that. So Man United were expected to finish 6th, but they won the league. Arsenal finished where they were predicted to finish. Liverpool were predicted to finish 11th, but finished 4th. So there was a bit of a shock this season with Liverpool and Man United finishing so high. As always, if you're enjoying this experiment, please hit that like button. It'd be much appreciated. Just lets me know that you want to see more parts as well. I'm happy to continue as far as possible, really, especially up until the end of the embargo, and then probably a few years after that. That's the plan anyway, if there's enough interest. And we can just see how the landscape of English football has changed. And also to see if these teams can recover further down the line, especially Spurs, for example. But you can see here, Watford have managed to win the most recent Premier League title. 86 points, finishing 6 ahead of West Ham. Everton down in 3rd, with Manchester United still managing to get a top 4 place. It really is quite incredible. Liverpool down in 7th place, with Arsenal down in 16th, improving 1 place on last season. But Man City relegated straight away back down to the Championship. So let's have a look at Man United. They've got no manager at the moment after finishing 4th. They're back up to a worldwide reputation, by the way, as you can see there. That's interesting. Have they managed to hang on to their best players? I think they've sold someone, haven't they? Where is he? Did they sell him last season? I think they've sold that really good player. Joe Daniels, where is he? He's moved to Hull City on a free when his contract ran out. That's really quite random, because I thought he was really good. Yeah, 183 current abilities, world-class talent, and he's gone to Hull City of all places, who are paying him 115k a week. That's quite random. I mean, Hull aren't even one of the top teams in the Premier League. They did finish 5th last year, though, so perhaps he was tempted, thinking that they would finish higher this year, but they didn't. They finished down in 12th. But that's quite a random free transfer move. So Man United will certainly miss him. Liverpool down in 7th, but still doing pretty well under James McArthur, considering the circumstances. They've kept the faith in him as well. They've still got Mick Jeffers, by the way. Brian Barton, Rafael, McIntosh. They're holding on to those players, interestingly. Then we've got Arsenal down in 16th, with Paul Heckingbottom still in charge. This is the Arsenal squad. So they've got some potential here. Look, Bardaku. 179 potential. Luke Lloyd, a Welsh player, 165 potential. Tom Nelson, good player for them for many years, I think, as you can see there. Not quite performed that well though, by the looks of it, but they've got some good players, but they're just about clinging on in the Premier League, aren't they? Whereas Manchester City relegated straight away under Leandro Bacuna in charge of the team, so perhaps they're going to turn into a bit of a yo-yo club between the Premier League and the Championship. It's going to be difficult to sustain themselves. They've still got James Hogg, by the way, 19 years old now. He's got 2 caps for England already. He's got that 194 potential to be the best player in the world. Like I said, we'll look at Ballon d'Or and that sort of thing at the end. I'll also check the European competitions at the end of this season as well. But let's go down to the Championship. Have Chelsea been able to get promoted? No. Where are they? Where are Chelsea? Let's go down. I can't see. They're down in 14th position. Not great from them. So we're going to see Chelsea and Man City in the Championship next season as well. Leeds United promoted as champions. Middlesbrough and Burnley went up. Cardiff actually had... Wow. Cardiff have been randomly chosen over Blackburn. Well, that doesn't really matter, does it? Because they both finished 23rd and 24th. For FM18, I've noticed, just seems to randomly choose places if they're exactly level on points and goal difference and that sort of thing. There's no playoffs, but I suppose it doesn't matter when you're both relegated anyway. So let's go down all the way to the bottom to see how Spurs are getting on via League 1 and League 2, of course. For those of you that are interested to see what the other clubs are doing, we have seen some surprising teams flying up the division. I mean, Dulwich Hamlet are in League 2 at the moment. That's a bit of a shock. Bradford Park Avenue as well. So this is the National League, where Tottenham have been promoted back to the Football League. They have recovered. We haven't seen a complete slump from them. This was their top goal scorer who led them to glory, 21-year-old Nigerian with 5 caps, and he's playing at National League level. That's pretty amazing. He's not even that good. 90 current ability, 99 potential. Why has he got 5 caps for Nigeria? Not going to be that good, the player. Anyway, they've still got Kelvin Langmead in charge. Their key player, Kazeem Okoye, another Nigerian with 1 cap. They've just got a load of Nigerians. Let's have a look at this then. So, 2 Nigerians that are playing particularly well. Obviously come through their academies. But... yeah, they've got some good players, and that's certainly how they've got decent potential. League 1, League 2 potential players, possibly even Championship potential there, meaning they were able to easily win the league this season, 8 points ahead of Alfreton, as you can see there. Let's have a look at the cup competitions then. Norwich are the most recent winners. Everton won it twice in a row, but Norwich managed to beat Everton this season. We've seen Ipswich win it, Middlesbrough. We've not seen the top 6 teams win it since 2024 when Man City won it. So we've seen some different winners every year since then, which is great to see. Going down to the Karabell Cup, similar story in fact. Everton, Watford, Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, West Ham all managing to win the Karabell Cup. Champions League, Bayern Munich won 2 out of the last 3 titles, as you can see there. I don't think we're going to see an English team for a while. But Euro Cup wise, Crystal Palace won it against Swansea in 2031, and Man United beat Porto in 2032. So, and Crystal Palace runners up in 2030. So Crystal Palace doing really well, actually, with Alex Neil in charge, 4-star reputation team. Now they've been towards the top of the table, top 4 team mainly for the last few years. So they could go on to dominate in future years, I suppose. Obviously qualified for the Champions League this year, I guess. Let's just see how they got on. They did get through to the first knockout round, but lost against Barcelona. So well done to them for that. Obviously, Man United managed to win the Euro Cup this year. Let's just quickly scroll down. They beat Porto in the final 3-2 in extra time. And they beat Hull City in the semi-finals. So the team that we saw Joe Daniels go to, they managed to beat. This is intriguing. This is absolutely wonderful stuff. I'm loving this experiment. Let's start in League 2 then for the 2032-33 season, where we've seen Spurs. They missed out. They finished 8th, 66 points. You can see Wigan, Wrexham, Northampton and Southport promoted to League 1. It wasn't quite to be for them. They've got, Hugo Lloris is in charge of the club now. That is amazing. What a journey. But he's been in charge of quite a few teams. So he finished as a player at Napoli, remember? They signed him early on in the save. And ironically, it was because they sold Lloris that they really dropped off, because they then sold a few other keepers. preventing them from, well, having a good defence, and they got relegated all the way out the Football League as a result. But he's now come to try and save Spurs, and he's been in charge since 2032. He's been in charge of Wimbledon, Bradford City, Burton, Luton, and now Spurs. What a journey for Hugo Lloris. That's so random, but so amazing. I love these sorts of things. This is the Spurs team. They've still got an alright team. They've got some potential in there, but nothing particularly special, and not enough to get them promoted to League One anyway. Let's go up then to the Championship, where we've got Chelsea and Man City in the Championship now. Here we are, and neither of them promoted. Man City 6th, so they did get to the playoffs. Chelsea just missed out on the playoffs, 1 point behind Manchester City. This is Chelsea with Luka Modric in charge of the club. He previously was the under-18s manager at Ipswich Town before getting the job at Chelsea. Ipswich Town obviously having a very good time on this save. They're doing quite well in the Premier League, in fact. Down to 3.5-star reputation now. I don't know if that's declined since last time. This is the team. They've still got Toure, and the best player in the team. They've managed to hang on to him. Man City, on the other hand, have got Leandro Bacuna still in charge. 3.5-star reputation team still. Their best player, James Hogg, still at the club. So it's a surprise, but I don't... Will he reach that 194 by staying at Man City? He needs to be playing at the top level, really, to test his ability, I think. They've got... Well, this guy's got potential as well. 150, 160 potential here. So they're producing good players. That's for sure. But if they don't get promoted again, they might have to sell them. Let's go up to the English Premier League, which has been won by Everton. But, look at that. Manchester United and Liverpool relegated in the same season. That is a shock. A lot of you said Man United won't be relegated, but they have been. They won the league 2 seasons ago. Didn't they finish 4th last year? What a drop-off for Man United. What has happened to them? That is a massive, massive shock, with Lewis Dunk in charge of the team for the last 179 days, as you can see there. 4-star continental reputation. It's gone down again. They've still got Lindelof as captain at the age of 38, but they were relegated. Despite, they've got some talented players here that should be keeping them up, really. James Kelly in particular, a very good player. I don't know if this is a shock or not, because I was expecting all the teams to get relegated, but seeing Man United dominate for quite a few years and still finish in the top 4, they won the league title only 2 years ago, suddenly dropped off. And it's really quite random. I don't know, did they sell a lot of regens recently? Let's have a quick look. They sold Pat Brownhill for £5.75 million. It's like an alright player. And Ross Rudge to Norwich. But they're kind of championship quality players. It's not like they sold the best players. Maybe they released a few players on a free, or the contracts ran out. Marcus Rashford's still at the club at the age of 35, but only scored 7 goals this season. So maybe that was the big problem, that Rashford just didn't fire them up the table. But it really is a shocking decline from them. Where were they predicted to finish? They were predicted to finish 16th, to be fair, but maybe it was the Champions League that got in the way, because remember they won the Euro Cup last year. Perhaps that prevented them from focusing on the Premier League, and although they did get knocked out in the group stage consistently, they lost against Copenhagen, for example, then in the Euro Cup, where did they get knocked out? They got knocked out in the second knockout round against Roma, so that European journey probably took a lot out of them. And look at all those losses. It really was a disaster for them. But they still finished above Liverpool. So Man United fans, don't despair. You still finished above bottom of the table Liverpool, with Martin Allen in charge of the club. You still got Trent Alexander-Arnold at the age of 34, down to 3.5-star reputation, by the way. You've still got amazing potential players, or current ability players. Look at that. That team should be good enough to keep them up. 184 current ability. That's one of the best players in the world. McIntosh. Brian Barton, Nick Carter, Raphael, Lee Price, they are all good players that should be keeping Liverpool in the top flight, but they finished bottom of the table somehow. I'm not really sure how they did that. Is it because they didn't have a good goalkeeper? No, they've got a good goalkeeper, or decent goalkeeper, 139 current ability. So it's quite bizarre how they finished bottom of the table. Is it because were they in the Champions League? No. They weren't in any European competitions. They got knocked out in the second round of the Karabell Cup and the 4th round of the FA Cup. There wasn't really any distractions for them, but they finished bottom of the Premier League. Arsenal survive again. They've improved. They've gone up to 9th place. So they are the only team in the top flight next season, I think. That is a bit of a shock, really, because we saw them. Were they the second team to get relegated? Or the third team? Can't quite remember off the top of my head. But they've definitely not got as good a team as Liverpool. Look at that. Their best player, 165 current ability. Maybe their ability spread out a bit more around the positions. Perhaps they were playing a good tactic. 4-4-2. Classic 4-4-2. And that really is a bit of a shock that they've finished so high, and Liverpool and Man United with good quality players finished all the way down the table. But well done to Everton, by the way. Already Jaedi's gone to Everton and managed to win the league with them. 4.5-star worldwide reputation. Crystal Palace, we saw them doing well previously. They're up to second. Watford finished third with Thomas Rosicky in charge. Ipswich doing really well as well, up in fourth place, 4-star reputation. So they could possibly go and win the league at some point, I reckon. West Ham haven't won it for a few years now, but they're still a good team, still got very good players, and the top goal scorer in the league as well, as you can see there. Let's have a look at him. Daniel Lewis, who started at Northampton Town, and he's valued at £78 million. They signed him for £44 million from Sheffield Wednesday. Brilliant. It's now the end of the 2034 season, and I thought we'd start the Premier League to see how Arsenal got on. They have been relegated. 30 points. They've gone back down finally. After a good season last year, they've just flopped once again, just like Man United flopped. Will we have all the teams in the Championship next year, or have we seen Man United, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, one of those teams get promoted? We'll have a look in a second. But West Ham, champions of England once again, by the way, finishing ahead of Everton and Ipswich, who also had very good seasons. This seems to be the top seven. You know, I can see those teams going on to do really well on this in the next few years. But it could all change. I think it's a bit more competitive at the moment at the top of the table, which is good to see. But we might see one team becoming prolific Premier League winners at some point. That is a possibility. This is Arsenal then. They've got Ricardo Costa in charge now. And yeah, the team just weren't good enough to keep Arsenal up. They've still got this guy, Baduku, by the way, with that good potential. Don't know if he's going to get there though. Let's go down to the Championship then, see what's happened. And we've seen 2 of the 4 get promoted. Man United and Liverpool go straight back up to the English Premier League. So I'm going to holiday one more year to see if they can survive in the Premier League in this part 3 today. Man United finished second behind Brighton. Liverpool went up via the playoffs, beating the likes of Chelsea. They actually beat... I know Bristol City beat Chelsea in the semi-final, as you can see there. And where's Man City then? Man City down in 11th place, 68 points. Not a great season from them. So they've kind of become a bit of a perennial Championship team. Anyway, this is Manchester United, 3.5-star reputation. They've completely dropped off, haven't they, reputation-wise? They're not famous anymore, or not quite as famous anymore anyway. They've got Sergio Palencia in charge. I think this is the team that's had the least managers out of the big 6. I would say. They've still got some good players. Marcus Rashford's still there at the age of 36. He's been there his whole career. That is quite incredible from Marcus Rashford. And he's scored goals for them. He's got assists. He's an England legend. And still earning £190,000 a week in the Championship. Bleeding them dry at this level. Liverpool, they've got Jose Fonte in charge. Trent Alexander-Arnold's still here as well at the age of 35. This is the team. They've still held on to these amazing players. How are Liverpool doing it? I don't understand how they are holding on to their players, but other teams aren't. It really is quite incredible what they've managed to achieve on this experiment. And they're back into the Premier League as a result of holding on to those players. Chelsea have Martin Naylor in charge, still 3.5-star reputation team. Still got Toure, by the way, but they're not quite as good as Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool should have run away with the league with the players they had. Man City, Billy Bowden in charge of Manchester City now. Their best player, James Hoggy's still there with that 194 potential. I don't think he's going to get there though, is he? I can't see him getting up to that top potential. They've got a few other players with potential. Paleo, a Spaniard, and a couple more. Simon Newell, another Englishman. So there's hope for the future for Man City, that's for sure. Now to find out how Spurs have managed to get on. This is League 1. Let's go down to League 2, where Tottenham Hotspur have won the league. They're back up to League One. They're climbing back up the table. Will they be able to sustain themselves in League One now with Hugo Lloris saving Spurs? What a journey for Spurs this is. Are they going to go all the way back up to the top and ironically turn into the best team out of the top 6? You know, maybe as a result of being declining all the way down, they might rise to the top of the Premier League and do better than the other 5 teams now. Time will tell, especially in part 4 of this experiment. They've got. I think they're improving the number of players that they've got with like 100 current ability. They're just increasing that gradually, and all these young players coming through the academy are getting to that level now. But they don't seem to be producing anyone good enough for Premier League level at the moment. Although this guy could be the Barbados guy, 155 potentials. So we'll see how long they manage to hold on for him. And Regan Howell as well, a 16-year-old Englishman, has got potential to play in the Premier League one day. So let's holiday one more year and have a look to see if Man United and Liverpool have managed to survive in the Premier League. Well, Liverpool survived, but Manchester United didn't. They finished rock bottom of the Premier League in the 2034-35 season. Everton have managed to reclaim the title, by the way, finishing above West Ham. Ipswich still doing really well, and Newcastle starting to climb up the table gradually, I've noticed. But Man United, bottom. Oh, by the way, Daniel Lewis, top goal scorer once again. He's on fire for West Ham. So this is Manchester United. They've got rid of their manager again. They brought in Massimo Carrera, 71-year-old Italian now. And this is the team. I think Rashford has probably retired now. Can't see him on there. Let's just have a look to see. Oh, he's a director of football, so he has retired from football. This is their best player, Leon Duffy, 149 current ability. You know, the team just wasn't good enough this year, I suppose. They've got some good players, but not quite good enough to keep them up, that's for sure. So Manchester United back in the Championship in part 4, but Liverpool survived. They're the only team at the moment in the top flight. We might see one of the other teams get promoted from the Championship though. So in part 4, going to find out if Liverpool can stay up with David Horseman in charge of the club. Great name. Let's have a look at their managers. So Fonte was sacked, and then they brought in Horseman. And let's look at their team. So they've still got these players. Mick Jeffers, they've still got hold of him. Don't understand how. Why hasn't he left? Paul McIntosh, they've still got him. He's 31 now. Rafael, Spaniard. Nick Carter. They've got really good players, and that's why they've managed to survive this season, quite simply. So well done to Liverpool. Everton champions with Raidi Jaidi once again still in charge of the club. Has Dele Alli retired? I presume he has. Yeah, he's a director of football as well. He retired 3 years ago, in fact. Down to the Championship then, where Arsenal have managed to go up 100 points. They only lost 4 games all season against Brentford, Norwich, Burnley and Blackburn. But Arsenal back in the Premier League for part 4 of this experiment with Ricardo Costa in charge. These are the players that fired them to glory. They've still got Badoku, 22 years old now, 3 caps for England. They didn't have a very good season though. It was all about this chap, Jason Wheeler, who's never been capped by England, but 22 assists this season. Not a very good average rating, but 22 assists is still impressive. Their top goal scorer was Tommy Phillip, and another Englishman, obviously relying heavily on English talent in this experiment. We'll have a look at the World Cups and stuff before I end today's part 3 as well. So well done to Arsenal, back in the big time. Chelsea finishing down in 8th. They just seem to be finishing just outside or just inside the playoffs every single season now. They're just not quite good enough to get promoted, are they? Toure, they've still got him. He's 31 years old now, 89 caps for England. For some reason, he's decided not to move on. Apparently, he's a world-class midfielder, even though he's only got 153 current ability. Doesn't quite make sense to me. Let's go down. Where's Man City? Man City down in 20th. What's happened to them? 49 points, 6 points above the drop. Ed Brand is in charge of the club. They've been through the managers, haven't they? They sacked Guardiola pretty early on into this save, and since then they've just had a torrid time. They did manage to win a couple Premier League titles, but since then they have dropped off. This is their best player, Venezuelan, who isn't worth very much, but he's got good current ability. I think actually his contract's running out, so he's going to surely move on somewhere else because He's not going to want to hang around in the Championship, especially with a team that look like they could get relegated down to League One in Part 4. Let's go down to League One then and see how Spurs got on. Spurs relegated back to League Two. Hugo Lloris let them down. He's not in charge anymore. He was sacked, and Adrian Popper was unable to keep them up. In fact, look at this. He was in charge for 2.5 years, but with only only a month left of the season, or maybe half a month. Or did he? No, in fact, he came in at the end of the season, didn't he? Because the League One season finishes early. So yeah, he came in when they were relegated. So yeah, it didn't go to plan for Spurs. 6 points below Wigan, who survived. And they're back in League 2 for Part 4. I was thinking they might make a recovery, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen for Tottenham. They just don't have enough good players. I mean, they were good enough to win League 2, but they weren't good enough to stay up in League 1, unfortunately. They've still got Regan Howe, who's got good potential. See how long he stays. FA Cup then, let's have a look at the most recent winners. West Ham, Crystal Palace and Everton are the last 3 winners. Ipswich, Watford, they've featured to second place as well. Let's go down to the Karabell Cup, which was won by Everton as well. 2 times in a row. They've won 3 of the last 4. West Ham managed to win 3 years ago. But Everton are turning into a dominant team, aren't they, on this save? I think that's predictable. I guess you could argue they were the 7th best team at the start of this experiment on paper. West Ham, floating around 8th, 9th, 10th best team. And I guess it's kind of predictable that these teams have done well. Crystal Palace have done well. Ipswich have done particularly well to go up from the Championship and also do very well in the Premier League. Champions League then, we still haven't seen an English winner, and I don't think we will for a while. Perhaps Everton can go on though and become a good team. But look at this. The last 5 Euro Cups won by English teams. Crystal Palace beat Swansea, Man United beat Porto, Everton beat Crystal Palace, West Ham beat Valencia, and then Ipswich beat Newcastle. And it's been an all Premier League final for 3 of those 5 finals as well. So the English teams are good enough to dominate the Euro Cup now, which is really quite interesting. Well done to Ipswich. They've qualified for the Champions League next year as a result. Although they might have finished in the top 4 anyway. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that is quite incredible. If we look at England, Eddie Howe is in charge of England. Let's just look at the manager history. He's been in charge for coming up to 2 years now. And these are the top 6 teams in England now. Everton, West Ham, Watford, Ipswich, Palace and Stoke. That's the new top 6. Absolutely fascinating. England have dropped off, by the way, world rankings wise. Best player is that Daniel Lewis West Ham chap. He's a prolific goal scorer. Corey Cartwright is the second best player. Plays for Watford. We've got Mick Jeffers, the Liverpool guy, and two Liverpool players in there, in fact. And then Will Massey plays for West Ham. And Joe Daniels, the ex-Manchester United player, now playing for Hull City. Now, this is the team, so there's a real mix of clubs in here. I don't think there's any Man United players, but there's a few Liverpool. There's an Arsenal player, but lots of other teams are now featuring, as you can see. Which is great to see. That's what I wanted to see happen. European Football Championships, by the way, Poland, Germany, France and Portugal are the 4 winners of that. The World Cup, we saw England win it, remember? But since then, Brazil, Germany and Brazil have managed to win. England did finish 3rd in the 2030 World Cup. Australia have held 2 of the last 4 World Cups, by the way. World Golden Ball. Have there been any English players featuring? So let's go from the start. Messi predictably winning the early ones. Sanchez featuring. Mbappe featuring. Lamar, Dybala, Emerson. Now this is the regens coming into play. Although you can see Ousmane Dembele and Lamar featuring once again. And some real players there. Diogo Pereira. 2 regens featuring. I don't think there's any English players. We've seen some real quality English players being produced, but they haven't managed to win the World Golden Ball. They might be featuring in Team of the Year. Let's go back. There might be some really interesting teams featuring in this. At this stage, we've still got the Man United dominating. And then 2023, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea players featuring. 24, West Ham player did feature in that. And then 25, Man City players featuring still at this point. But then a Bournemouth, Lewis Cook in the World Team of the Year on the bench anyway. Well done to him for that. Bernardo Silva from Man City also featuring. And then 2027, I don't think there's anyone there. If you do spot anything, as always, stick it in the comment section below, please. Lots of dominance from Barcelona that season. 2030, we do have an Everton player. Felice Demarchi. Murdered that, sorry. 2031, no Everton player. Oh yes, Everton player on the bench. It's D'Amico again. D'Amico, there we go. Something like that, surely. And then 2032, I don't think there's anyone there. 2033, yes, D'Amico's back in the team, in the first 11. 2034, we've got a Watford player featuring. Liverpool, Mick Jeffers is on the bench. And I think that's it. And the most recent one, that was the most recent one. This is the all seasons team of the year for those interested in that. Anyway, thank you for watching part 3 of this experiment. They're quite long, I know, these parts, because, well, they're just so fascinating. And I do want to holiday quite far into the future. So please hit that like button if you're looking forward to part 4. Until next time, enjoy FM18. Oh, remember to fill in that survey as well. That would be fantastic. I will see you very soon.